You're going to say, duplex apartment, wait a second, this guy walks with a cane and has a scooter. Well, that's my new problem now. My legs are getting weaker and weaker. I've just been recently diagnosed with fibromyalgia, polyneuropathy, bursitis, okay? My nerve endings are dying, and I'm losing motion in my legs. That's why I was prescribed that scooter, because I can't walk long periods. Last night I was walking, we had our pre-dinner conference, and when I got back to my hotel room, my legs were bowling balls. My legs were purple. That's what happens to me when I'm on my feet too long. I can guarantee you that's going to happen today. I can feel the pain right now rushing through my legs. But I'm going to stand here and I'm going to finish what I have to say. My wife fought me because I was just hospitalized last week and discharged Friday. And she says, "You're still going to do the conference?" I said, "If it's the last breath I take, I will go to the Treason in America conference and say what I have to say." That hospitalization gave me a new diagnosis. Pulmonary hypertension was told to me on Thursday, this past Thursday, 2 days ago. My wife was with me. She went with me for the results. The pulmonologist, who is one of the top specialists at Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, looked at my wife in her eyes and looked at me in my eyes together and said, "I am sorry, there's nothing that we could do for you." This lady has done bronchoscopies on me. About a year ago, she did a bronchoscopy on me. My right lung collapsed during the bronchoscopy, and what did they find in my lungs? They found pulverized glass, brick, and remnants of concrete, and black liquid. They removed the contents of what was in my lungs, and they analyzed them, but they couldn't figure out what the hell it was. They sent it to Mount Sinai, the main center of excellence. They couldn't figure it out. They had to send it to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. A couple of weeks later, I get a call, "Charlie, you need to come in. Somebody's coming from the CDC to talk to you." That's when I was told the findings. Still, the government does shit for 9/11 first responders and does shit for the families of the victims of 9/11. It is a disgrace. We were lied to by that bastard Bush. We were lied to by that bitch, Christy Todd Whitman, who told us the air was safe. Anybody with a quarter of a brain knows that if you mix concrete, plastic, glass, brick, jet fuel, rubber, human remains, add 3,000 degrees to it, plus the 250 other thousand toxins that were there, the asbestos, and you add 3,000 degrees to it, and you inhale it, that is a recipe for disaster. And that's the disaster that we all inhaled without respirators. Why? Because the city of New York did not have respirators for us. Whose fault is that? Rudy Giuliani's. Another criminal, as Bob McIlvain said. There's legislation pending to help us. It has been for 5 years. Some of you may know this legislation. This legislation is known as H.R. 847. And if you're taking notes, I'd really like for you to write that number down. H.R. 847. It's the James Zadroga Health and Compensation Act. Jimmy Zadroga was the first casualty of 9/11. He was a New York City police officer from Little Egg Harbor. He died because of his injuries incurred on 9/11. This bill many times has been promised to us that it's going to be passed. Yet, they find a reason not to pass it. They find a reason to stall it. We are not without allies. We do have a few allies in Washington that I can tell you are with us. Carolyn Maloney from Long Island, Mr. Nadler from Lower Manhattan. They are allies of ours. They seek the truth. They seek another 9/11 investigation into what happened. They don't believe the first 9/11 investigation. And I can tell you that by sitting on the board of directors of the Feel Good Foundation. And the trips and the trips and the trips that we have taken, and John Gold can tell you how many trips we have taken to Washington to activate for, to advocate, excuse me, not advocate, to advocate for H.R. 847. We have pressed members of Congress to pass this legislation. Recently, it went to the Energy and Commerce Committee, who is chaired by Congressman Frank Pallone. Another prick, excuse my terminology. He refuses to send it to the floor. He refuses to send it to his committee for a vote. He says he's not going to send it till we have enough votes. So what do? We go to Washington, we meet with every member of his committee, and for the exception of 4 people out of 38, we get yes votes. So we go to Pallone, we hand him a piece of paper, and we tell him, we've got the votes, now send it. Has he sent it? Can you guess? Can you guess? Has he sent it? No. So what do? 2 weeks ago, last week, I was in the hospital. John Field, the amazing John Field, takes a group of 9/11 responders from the Feel Good Foundation, responders from the 9/11 Police Aid Foundation, and responders from the New York City Firefighters Brotherhood Foundation. And he goes to Washington, and he tells Pallone, what are you doing? Why isn't this marked up? Well, that day John Field got some news. We were told that on March 16th, which is in 2 weeks, that H.R. 847 was going to be marked up out of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Then it has to go through one more committee, Ways and Means, which is chaired by Charlie Rangel. And as some of you, I'm sure you've seen in the news, Charlie Rangel has now resigned. Charlie Rangel is also a staunch supporter of 9/11 responders. So we don't know what's going to happen now. We know that once it passes Ways and Means and it gets to the floor, we have spoken to and sent videos, a documentary, Save the Brave, that I was in, and with 3 other responders. We sent that video to members of Congress, and we visited every single member of Congress we visited.